Hello, and welcome to this look at the stock Pinterest on the New York Stock Exchange as of 2020. Of course, as a disclaimer, this is just a very pretty simplistic and beginner's view at, at a stock, in this case Pinterest. We'll look at some of the fundamentals of the company and then some more qualitative looks at it. And so I may or may not own the stock. I don't. And of course, the values of the company may change over time. And this is by no means a recommendation to buy or sell this company. So a quick overview of what Pinterest does, as their 10K statement from 2020 says, the quote, Pinterest is where 335 million people around the world go to get inspiration for their lives. It's pretty lofty. But in actuality, all Pinterest is it's pretty much image-based, and it allows people to create boards to collect and organize their ideas, inspirations, or in a more cynical view, products that advertisers want people to buy. And so it is distinct from Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, based off the overall concepts. And to tie it back to the stock itself, it IPO'd in April 2019 at a valuation of $24, which currently, as of today, it is sitting at about a bit over that number. And so here's a quick look at the platform of Pinterest, just the home screen. The business is, as a social media company, it's focused around advertising, just like Facebook is at least on Facebook.com itself. And so it is a mix of banner ads, and then of course companies can pay additional to get highlighted positions and exposure. And again, quoting their 10K report from 2020, they offer both brand and performance advertisements. So as you can see from the screen grab, there's one of a business called Mojo Spa. So it's a bit of a mix of a store platform when it's a bit at its most unorganic, but at the same time, as a Pinterest user myself occasionally, it is oftentimes a lot more organic than, say, going on Amazon, where everybody's a seller, when oftentimes Pinterest is much more natural and less contrived in how these products are directed towards you. It's a bit similar to how Instagram has started to integrate this type of commerce. It's a bit similar in those regards, but again, because of the difference in platforms, it's still very distinct. Speaking of Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, Facebook in February 2020 launched Hobby, which is intended to be a competitor of Pinterest. If you Google Hobby, their description is very similar to what Pinterest 10K report's description of their company is. Yeah, so you could call it a copycat if you wish to. I give this Facebook the benefit of the doubt, but of course Facebook did shut Hobby down, so clearly Pinterest held its own in maintaining its user base. And so, as I previously said, Pinterest does, in my summation, have a bit of a niche when it comes to social media companies, in that it's not like a political / news / discourse platform like Twitter. It's not personal. It's not personality driven like Facebook or Instagram. It's not like interpersonal like Snapchat. It's not community based like Reddit or Discord. And so in that light, Pinterest is very distinct in that it's focused not on personalities or like the current events of the day and discussion, but more so just sharing memes, ideas for like teachers, and then of course naturally where the monetary purpose of the company is advertising products on the platform. For the quick rundown of some of the fundamentals that are in my summation, some of the quick things to understand about the company: the market cap is 14.6 billion, which when you compare it to Facebook's at 690 billion as of 2020, of course. So you clearly see the difference in a company like Pinterest, which has 350 million users worldwide, so essentially the entire US per se use it, compared to say Facebook, which has over 2 billion people that use Facebook's variety of products. Pinterest does not have a PE ratio, and so they lose money. As is pretty common for these startups and tech startups, especially. So as of right now, it's not too concerning considering the existence of the company. So as you can see from this chart, going back to 2017, the gross income has steadily gone up. Although, of course, they do lose money at the end of the day. And the future of Pinterest is where the concept of the company gets interesting, because it is a new company, right? And so you're not buying Pinterest for where it is today, you're buying it for where it's going to be in a couple years down the line. And so when you look at that, the way Pinterest is going to increase as a platform is to expand its user base from its current 350 million users to expanding in the US, expanding internationally. And by doing so, you naturally make the platform a more attractive proposition to advertisers, as the more people you have on the platform, the more people or eyeballs you will get on ads, and though therefore Pinterest can make more money in that sense from those advertisers. And of course, as a personal wish, maybe browser dark mode. And so none of those things are very outlandish. It's all very common sense objectives for what a company should achieve, right? Clearly dark mode, as it is aesthetically pleasing, but in all seriousness, that is Pinterest's big deal, because if it stays at where it is now in terms of its user base, the company's income certainly isn't going to increase. If anything, the income's going to stagnate as advertisers look at other companies that innovate and become more interactive with advertisements or allow them to have better opportunities, such as Facebook or those competitors that aren't stagnant themselves and are, as looking at Facebook's market cap, certainly have a lot more money to throw around to make copycats, if you would say, about this platform and eat away at user base. And that ties in naturally to some of the risks. And I think the main concern of Pinterest, as they bluntly state in their 10K report from 2020, is our ecosystem of pinners and advertisers depends on our ability to retain, attract, and engage our user base, which is of course, the take away the pinners part, and you can slide in Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter. The big issue, or big conundrum all of those platforms face, right, which is they are free, and so when it's free, the product is the user, right? And so that is the main focus on retaining and then maximizing the users. And so when you look at other risk factors that they mention in their 10K, some three that stood out to me were, I didn't think about this one, but third-party actors like Apple and Google may inadvertently hurt Pinterest. For example, Google may change its cookie policies because of, say, California's new internet privacy laws or whatnot. Or Apple may, this is conjecture about Apple specifically, but like, an Apple and its App Store tax per se. Those things, naturally, because Pinterest is simply a vendor, it is not the provider, and so it is privy to some interference from those third parties, which again is difficult to predict for. International growth, interestingly enough, they said in their 10K would be slower or not as dependable, because essentially Pinterest is an image-based platform, and so the internet capabilities would have to maximize the platform, would have to be higher than it is in many places around the world, which would, interestingly enough, hurt or dampen their international growth, which I never thought of, and I guess it's why you read 10K reports, I guess. And then, of course, government regulation. Just look at, Pinterest has never been in the news for, say, election interference or those types of big stories, right, like Facebook or Twitter, tend to get the big hits about those. But you'd imagine that Pinterest does deal with user data, and that is their MO to improve their advertising business. And so naturally, there presumably would be some interference. And then, of course, you have generic risks such as security and maintaining the brand and security of a platform that makes Pinterest a place to go. And so, as stated, Pinterest would be a growth stock. It's not a Microsoft or an Apple. It's not established. So there is naturally more risk in that regard. I'd say it has room to grow, as it's at 350 million users right now, and so presumably you'd imagine that they could increase their foothold and grow in users. And then, of course, they seem to believe that their advertising platform is in its infancy right now, and they haven't fully maximized the potential to essentially make money. So naturally, then, and so of course, then the goal would be eventual profitability, or at least reducing losses, and of course the risks of social media companies at large. However, when you look at it, social media companies aren't going to go anywhere, right? And Pinterest has a unique niche, which I don't believe is going anywhere, as I find it to be a distinct and an enjoyable platform to use personally. I know people that use Pinterest. There's people looking at teaching and those areas, and so I think it certainly has an established brand. It is a consumer thing, and so it is a bit more ficky, but I think that Pinterest has room to go, and there's upside to it potentially. Would I put 100% of my part-time work money into Pinterest? Probably not. I wouldn't, and neither should you. But I think Pinterest, if you want to get exposure to social media, this Pinterest would not be the worst. It's not a Ponzi scheme, or at least. It's similar to Snapchat in terms of being a recent social media IPOs. Just as a quick lifetime look at the stock. Yep, as it IPO'd around 25, 24.40 to be exact. It's had gone up to almost 35, and then of course, the two main events. Facebook launches Hobby, stock price goes down from 25, and then that ties into the coronavirus that happened this year, the big sell-off in March, which brought the stock all the way down to 12, and now, as part of the overall stock market rally, it is back to $24 about. So that is Pinterest. Please let me know if there's more things I could talk about. What's your opinion of the stock? This is just my first video. I've been reading stuff about Pinterest, and so I just wanted to put some stuff so I can at least do something and also put a video on the channel. So thank you for watching. Please let me know if there's more things that would be helpful when looking at stocks, and if there's another ticker that's interesting. But please comment it. So again, Pinterest is an interesting company with interesting potential. Again, please do your own research, and this is simply one opinion. Go read somebody else's stuff. But thank you for watching, and good luck.